Hey Sean, you wanted to meet?
Oh yeah, hey Joey. I have a new project that I need you to work on. JCC, they are a manufacturing company that does products for OEM. They are having problems involving management turnover and on-time delivery, which have resulted in reduced profitability. They want to increase inventory, but that is impossible without their workers working more overtime or them investing in additional plant resources. I just want you and your team to, come up with some advisement for JCC's management and come up with a few reports for their current status and their future financial actions.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get on it.
All right.
And we'll get back to you.
All right. Thank you, Joey.
Sorry I'm late. As you know, we are in charge of the JCC account. I put it upon myself to analyze the OEM and better understand why this multi-tier system isn't working for JCC and whether or not it's the root cause. And what I've found so far is since components are part of this OEM's own product, quality is extremely important. The buyer's name and marketing mix is at stake. This explains why the OEM finds it attractive to develop one partnership with a single supplier for one component of the motorcycle. In JCC's case, this is the chassis. Companies like this often choose companies like JCC because JCC adopts the same objectives in selecting their multi-tier suppliers for their own main component. Profitable OEM manufacturers seek to communicate closely with aftermarket products. This explains why the OEM is in direct contact and contract with the tire company, the third tier. I found several reasons why the OEM is using several tiers. One of them being more control over costs. Having several tiers of suppliers assigned to a particular component of the motorcycle allows the OEM to more accurately analyze the cost of the component delivered to them by the tier, and whether or not the cost is reasonable. If one tier supplier was in control of gathering all the components for the OEM, it would be up to the first tier supplier to decide. Therefore, the supplier has more control over stating the price of their component, seeing that OEM has no other tiers to buy from it contractually. And what I need from you is analyze JCC's position within the existing supply chain of JCC and find out the strengths and weaknesses through its adoption of lean principles.
So after meeting with Joey today, we need to come up with some solutions. We need to figure out how much JCC is producing per delivery.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to get things going. And we can also look at the process time and then the total process time for each delivery.
And once we find that out, then we can figure out if JCC is able to produce the more amount that OEM is requesting.
Yeah, sounds like a great way to get things started. Let's do it.
And what did we find out?
Well, we found out that if we looked at how many units per delivery JCC was producing, we could figure out how to adjust that amount to the increased number of units that OEM is requesting. First of all, we calculated what JCC did during the original process to find out how many units per delivery were created last year. Since JCC was producing 30,000 units in 2014, we need to find out how many units JCC was producing a week. There are 50 productive weeks per year. So therefore, JCC is producing 600 units per week. JCC operates 5 days a week, so of these 600 units, there are around 120 units being produced a day. Each day, JCC makes 8 deliveries, so 8 deliveries with 120 units being produced a day brings us to the fact that there is 15 units being produced per delivery. According to JCC's process diagram, it takes 18 minutes to produce 1 unit. Since 15 units are being produced per delivery and it takes 18 minutes per unit, we found that it takes 270 minutes per delivery. To find out how many hours it is taking JCC to produce these units, we divide 120 by 60. This shows us that JCC takes 4 hours and 30 minutes to produce 15 units. This is a problem since JCC is supposed to have the units on OEM's assembly line exactly 3 hours before the time when JCC receives the order. OEM wants JCC to increase their production by 3,750 units for the year 2015. So we then looked at how many units JCC could produce with the increased amount of production. If JCC increased production to 33,750 units, working 50 weeks a year, 5 days a week, and producing 8 deliveries a day, we calculated that JCC would produce 17 units per delivery. For the increased amount of production, we calculated that it would take 2 hours and approximately 32 minutes. We got this new time by modifying the process that which Maria will now explain to you further.
Before I explain the modified process we put together, the biggest suggestion we have over the current process is to ask the OEM to redo their contract specifications with the tire vendor. In this contract, OEMs should look into doing research into better quality tires and ask the tire vendor to carry these tires that will better balance with the different wheel types. JCC has traced the source of the vibration and poor handling qualities to the tire manufacturer. Therefore, by delivering better quality tires to the wheel vendor, this could possibly ensure a better quality tire-wheel combination with no extra steps to be taken when JCC is producing the rolling chassis. Another suggestion is to ask the wheel supplier to balance the wheel and tire before JCC begins to put together the rolling chassis. Tire balancing is a non-value added portion to the current process. I say this because the tire and wheel is delivered to JCC as one component, not individually. So when the tire and wheel are put together, that is when the wheel should be balanced. JCC pays the wheel supplier for a quality product since they're supposed to be providing a completed wheel assembly ready to be attached. So if JCC has been receiving complaints about bad quality and has traced the problem to the tire manufacturer, then there's no reason why JCC should be overcompensating for another supplier's overlook. Now let's take a look at the modified process. Originally, step 1 consisted of cut tubing, welding setup time, and welding process time. We decided that step 1 could be broken down into 2 separate steps. In the new process, or the modified process, step 1 is only the cut tubing process and is done by unit or individually because each unit has a specific design for each frame type. Before I continue to explain the new process, it's important to remember that we have increased our per unit amount to 17. Because this is an odd number, the first unit in each delivery will go through the process alone or individually. Then 2 units will enter the process where it is allowed after the first unit. Step 2 is the second portion of JCC's current process, which is welding setup and the welding process. The modified process allows 2 units at a time. Tacking welds and final welding for each specific joint will be done together. Step 3 is cleaning up the welds, decreasing and preparing for powder coat. This process still smooths and polishes the welds, and both units will go through the cleaning bath together. So you're doing step 3, 2 units at a time. Step 4 is now the powder coating process. The powder coat applied is done robotically, therefore, by adjusting the position of the bikes, 2 units can be sprayed at the same time. And because JCC uses powder coating instead of paint, any powder that's oversprayed can be recaptured and reused. Heating can also be done 2 units at a time. Step 5 is the fork assembly process. Although the forks are attached manually, we believe that this process can be done with 2 units in the same amount of time it currently takes to produce 1. Step 6 is where the wheel tire assembly is attached to the frame manually. We believe that this step can also have 2 units produced in the time it currently takes to produce 1. Step 7 is where the handlebars are mounted to the frame, and this step we believe should be processed 1 unit at a time or individually. Each bike has specific handlebar lengths, therefore we believe that to ensure better quality, this product should be done 1 unit at a time. Step 8 remains unchanged, and it's simply just to transport the leading queue for just-in-time or just-in-sequence deliveries.